Hello guys, and welcome here to Out of Turn 4. I'm Brian Hummel, I'm your host. And of course, let's get going. So today on Out of Turn 4, on our 4th episode, we're going to talk some F1, we're going to talk some NASCAR Darlington, and I'll also make my picks for the upcoming weekend. So here we go, let's start with F1. Lewis Hamilton is the winner of the Spanish Grand Prix, of course. It was led early by Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton closed late and won by 15 seconds. No surprise. This is Lewis Hamilton's series at this point. It's the Lewis Hamilton show. Why bother even talking about it, right? But, of course, after the race, Lewis Hamilton stated he wants a new deal by the summer break. I agree. Sign him, okay? I don't know what more he has to prove, but sign him. If he can win, sign him, okay? I got no further comment on Lewis Hamilton at this point, other than he's good and he's going to win. So, sign him. F1 CEO, their new CEO actually made a comment this week as well about the possibility of American drivers running in F1. He said it is coming in the near future, but it is not happening anytime soon. So, of course, the last American F1 driver was Alexander Rossi, and he was a test driver. But he did run in a few races for teams that no longer exist. He was smart, okay? He went to IndyCar. Again, I can't overstate this enough on the show. The level of competition, or the competition gap, is so far in F1 right now. They need to figure that out. Okay, he's got bigger issues right now. This F1 CEO has bigger issues right now than getting American drivers in the F1. There are qualified drivers. Alexander Rossi, Colton Herta, they're both extremely talented drivers, deserve to be in F1. But again, Michael Andretti also deserved to be in F1, it could be argued. But again, they got bigger issues to solve right now than getting American drivers in there. They need to figure out this competition gap, okay? Let's face it, why would any American driver want to leave IndyCar, where you have a chance of winning week after week after week? Heck, I'll even throw Joseph Newgarden, by the way, going back to the driver situation. Joseph Newgarden should be there too, in some cases. But again, why would you want to leave IndyCar when you have a chance to win week after week after week, even if you aren't in an Andretti, a Team Penske, a Ganassi car? If you're not in any of those three cars, you still have somewhat of a chance of winning. Okay, it may not be the greatest chance. I mean, heck, Arrow McLaren just won a race. But you still have a chance, and that's the point I'm making here. Okay, why would you want to leave a series that you're already winning in? Okay, to go to a series you'll be lucky if you score points in, because that competition gap is so far. They need to figure out how to beat Mercedes. They need to figure out how to knock Mercedes down a few pegs. And they need to figure out how to knock Red Bull down a few pegs. They need to figure out how to get more competition in this series. There was the AlphaTauri win last year. Yeah, it was great and all, but it's not likely to happen in a normal race situation. They need to figure out how to get those teams to be more competitive. They did the right thing. They got an American team in there right now in Haas F1. But again, they got so much more to figure out than trying to get American drivers in the F1 right now. Okay, again, if I'm Colton Herta and I'm Alexander Rossi, I'm not going over there again, or at all for that matter, until they figure out that competition gap. Because you know what? I think I'd have more fun in the States running for podiums and wins every week than running 12th or 13th if I'm extremely lucky and have a really good day. So, again, that's what I think they need to figure out first. But anyway, on to the NASCAR news now. Of course, Martin Truex Jr., he is the winner at Darlington. He is the only multi-time winner this season. He got his third win of the year. He swept the stages at Darlington. He was untouched, basically. And somehow that car passed Tech. That I'm shocked about, okay? And I'm shocked because look at how he ran in stage 1. He ran untouched. Stage 2, untouched. Stage 3, Kyle Larson had a chance. He was right there. Just couldn't finish the deal. Kind of wore out his tires. I was hoping for a late race caution. But I'm not going to lie, that Darlington race, in a way, kind of underwhelmed. To me, it underwhelmed what a Darlington race normally is. The truck race lived up to the hype. We'll talk about that in a second. But again, congratulations to Truex. Of course, Joe Gibbs now with 5 wins on the season. I believe everyone but Hamlin has a win right now. So, hey, always a good start. Anyway, Justin Allgaier won the NASCAR Xfinity race at Darlington, his second win in 4 races. And AJ Allmendinger won the Dash for Cash. Of course, Noah Gragson, the reason he won it is Noah Gragson was disqualified, which Junior Motorsports is appealing this decision. I don't know exactly what Gragson was disqualified for, but I believe it had something to do with the mounts on the car, and if that's the case, I'm sorry. You deserve that. Sheldon Creed, he won the Camping World Truck Race at Darlington. That is his second win of the year, and he won the first race of the Triple Truck Challenge. Now, the trucks have a week off before they go to COTA, so that's exciting, of course. But back to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So Dale Earnhardt Jr. made a few comments post-race at Darlington about the possibilities of Junior Motorsports going to the Cup Series in 2022. He stated it is a now or never situation for the team. I have actually put out the Twitter question of the week, and the question is, if Junior Motorsports goes full-time in NASCAR Cup Series racing in 2022, who should drive for them? I put up Justin Allgaier, Noah Gragson, Josh Berry, or other. Now, of course, the reason I put Josh Berry is he's really their third best driver right now. We know Mike Lynette's capable of winning, but he's only there because he has sponsorship. Let's put it that way. He's really just dead weight on the team, in a way. So that's kind of why I didn't put him on there. He could be the other. Of course, you can comment below on our Twitter poll. My opinion is it should be Justin Allgaier that goes up. Hear me out here, of course. He hasn't had the best Cup Series career. We all know that. He has not had the best run in the NASCAR Cup Series. If he doesn't, and Kaulig Racing keeps Kaz Grala as their driver in 2022, maybe, just maybe, put AJ Allmendinger in the car. That's my idea. I don't know if that's a possible outcome. I believe Noah Gragson would be the guy. I think Noah Gragson is the realistic driver behind the wheel of Junior Motorsports Cup ride. I don't think he's anywhere even close. I don't think he's anywhere even close to ready to race in the NASCAR Cup Series. I just don't think he's proven enough. I think he's, to be honest, he's mini Kyle Busch. He's a guy who doesn't have the talents of Kyle Busch, but he sure has the anger and the attitude of Kyle Busch. And he's not a guy, I don't feel like he's a guy that would earn the respect of his peers. I would love to see Dale Jr. drive the car, but we know for medical reasons he won't drive it. I think, though, for them to go cup racing, they are going to have to distance themselves from Hendrick Motorsports. I think Dale Jr. is going to have to tell Rick Hendrick to sell his part of Junior Motorsports. I think he's going to have to force him to sell, basically. And he's just going to have to look for another investor in the cup ride. Because, again, if Rick Hendrick's an investor, he'll never get the ride. Maybe he gets help with the ride, and Hendrick cuts down to 3 cars, with Dale Jr.'s car being the 4th Hendrick ride, but under the Junior Motorsports banner. I don't think that's a likely possibility. The other thing I'm very curious about with all these new teams coming in is, where are these charters going to come from? They're going to have to refigure out this whole charter system, because it's not going to work with all these new teams coming in. And, of course, 36 is the charter limit right now. I don't see any of these teams shutting down this offseason, so they have a lot to figure out with the charter system this offseason. Frankly, I say go back to owners' points like it was back in the day with all these new teams coming in, because you're going to have over 40 teams attempting week after week is what I'm seeing, and I just don't think there's going to be enough charters for him unless you force Rick Ware to sell 2 of his, which I think he should, because this team's not that good. If he cut down in size on the team and invested solely into 2 cars, maybe they could be a little more competitive. But hey, that's just a suggestion. But I don't know. I think Junior Motorsports should attempt it. I think it would help with that whole driver's edge development, because I think Hendrick at the end of the day is a little bit cutthroat, and I think they got a good mix right now of drivers. I think their 4 drivers they've got right now, sorry Jimmy Johnson fans, I think this is the best 4-driver team they've had in a while. Chase Elliott, the former champ, the defending champ. You got Kyle Larson, a guy who is more than capable of winning a championship now in the right equipment. William Byron is just starting to find his stride. I think he's having a breakout season, really. I think he's having his best season. And then, of course, you got Alex Bowman, who's the showman. He's the guy you don't expect to win, and he somehow finds a way to do it. And I think he's the right fit there. But again, he's the guy who's a hell of a talented driver, but he just can't find a sponsor to save his life. I don't know if Ally's going to stay much longer with him, but they should. I mean, he won for him, something Jimmy Johnson didn't do. Sorry, Jimmy fans. But, again, I think this four driver lineup they got right now is the best they've had in recent years. Of course, they've struggled in the last few years. Jimmy Johnson was, past prime. Dale Jr. struggled once Steve Letarte retired. And then, Jeff Gordon struggled in the recent years. Casey Kane really wasn't that good at Hendrick. So, I think this is the best 4-driver lineup they've had in a long time. So, and they're all in their prime. That's the best part. And like I said, William Byron is finally starting to fit in there. I thought William Byron would be the guy who, at the end of the year, might be on the way out if he doesn't start winning. And I think he's going to win at least one more race. I can see that. Don't quote me on it. But again, I think with that lineup right there, I think it's hard to let go of a driver, and I think that's where Junior Motorsports can come in, of course, and kind of fix things. Richard Childress, I think, is going to stay a 2-car team. Chevy's going to run into the same roadblocks as Toyota is, because they have a really stacked. Sheldon Creed is a talented driver. He should be up in the Xfinity Series next year. You've got Josh Berry, Sam Mayer. I think Sam Mayer, if if he does well in the Xfinity Series, I think he's going to be a threat in a few years for a Cup ride. But I don't know if it'll be with Chevy. Zane Smith, another one. But those are 3 drivers, and the 4 drivers in the top Chevy stable right now are pretty good. Much like the Toyota stable. Ford, there's a little more wiggle room, but again, those guys otherwise won't have a top team to go to. That's where Junior Motorsports, I think, could step in, have one ride. Unfortunately, I think it will be Noah Gragson. I don't think he should be that guy, but something tells me they'll make him the guy. The other news out of the NASCAR Cup Series is the new Gen 7 cars were revealed. So, of course, physically looking at them, there's really no difference. There's hardly a difference, but there are new tech features, of course. The back splitter, I believe, was one of them. My thoughts early on is, of course, the standard chassis, I think, is good on cutting costs. I think it's going to allow more teams to come in. I think, I think they did the right thing here, making it a little bit more cost effective, of course. I think kind of going towards spec is good. I think they got rid of the side, side thing for the yaw. So I think that's very good. I think we're going to see some good racing with this next-gen car. I think we're going to be very pleasantly surprised. I'm hoping, though, it's not like IndyCar this gen, but we'll see. I think it's going to be good for competition. I think it's going to be good to bring in new OEMs. No, I don't think it's going to bring Dodge back. I think Dodge is a lost cause. Maybe it's Honda, maybe it's Nissan. Maybe it's new Toyota teams. I could see that. Toyota needs to get more teams in the series. So, needless to say, I think it's going to be good for competition. I think it's going to allow the smaller teams to finally have the shot they normally wouldn't have. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who has the driving talent. So I think that's all good for the Cup Series going forward. And of course, the composite bodies, that's another good thing. So I think there's some pros. Obviously the cons, it is possible that the racing could get worse. It could be less passing in the long runs. It could be, it just could be very dull racing, but you never know. I think it's time to give it a chance, though, and see what happens. But I think for the costs and the marketing side of things, I think that helps out quite a bit. So I'm going to say that. Anyway, let's get on to the picks. I know, man, I've only gone like 18 minutes so far. I'm shocked this is a short episode because I had a lot of stories on here. But anyway, here we go. So IndyCar is back this weekend. They will be running the GMR Indy Grand Prix. The first of 2 road course races at Indy this year. Of course, I gave you my thoughts on that a while back. But my pick this weekend is Simon Pagenaud. I think he's very good on the Indianapolis road course. I think he is the guy to beat. And of course, I wouldn't rule out Scott Dixon or Will Power. I think those 3 will be the ones vying for the Indy win. Of course, joining the field this weekend will be Juan Pablo Montoya, the two-time former Indy 500 winner, and of course, I'm trying to think who else is joining the field, and it is Charlie Kimball. He will be driving a third AJ Foyt car. So, Charlie Kimball, Juan Montoya. So I believe we will have 26 entries into the Indy Grand Prix compared to the 24 we've had thus far. NASCAR Xfinity Series at Dover. I'm going to take my chances on Justin Allgaier. I think, he won the last race there. I think he can win this race. Then for the Cup Series at Dover, I personally think this is a no-brainer. I'm going to go Kyle Larson. He is just so good at Dover. Hendrick Motorsports, very good at Dover. I think that's a pairing made in heaven right there. So I think Kyle Larson's not just going to win this race. I'd be willing to place bets. He's going to dominate this race. So I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. I think he dominates and he wins in big fashion at Dover. Of course, again, he's won at Dover, I believe, twice. He's won once or twice. Hendrick has won quite a bit at Dover, of course, with Jimmy Johnson. Kyle Larson has battled Jimmy Johnson at Dover before, and he was really good with Chip Ganassi over there. That's why I would place money that Kyle Larson is going to have a fantastic run at Dover. So with that, we want to say thank you for watching. I'm sorry, I wish this episode was a little longer. We didn't have much stories to cover this week. I tried to drag it on as long as I could. Anyway, we'll be back next week here on Tinkle Sports. And of course, be sure to check out the Canteen podcast on, tomorrow here on Tinkle Sports. And I'll be back here on Sunday with Tinkle Sports Talk on this network and, of course, our audio platforms. So until we meet again, guys, goodbye, everyone.